Hello everyone, this is part 1 of What If Naruto Married Ino Till Death. This story is made by Kiwi for me, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to share, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Join my membership, the perks are great. It's in the description. Be sure to like and subscribe it. A smile is easy to produce when around others and harder when alone. A heart is easily given away and easier to break. Trust is easily given and easier to be mistreated. A lie is easy to create but hard to stop. Love is easy to give away, but harder to be replaced, the blue-eyed female said as she read the small book aloud. She stopped and looked to her side to see spiky blonde hair before blue eyes that holds the ocean. Why'd you stop? He asked, confused, staring at her. His mouth, a small pout, and his cheeks graced with scars. She touched his face with her soft hand and smiled at him. He smiled in return and leaned in for a kiss. She gave in. Do you think this is true? She asked softly as she leaned onto his shoulder. She could hear the soft rumble of his chuckle before he spoke. Yeah, I do, he said with a smile as she did the same as well. He bent his head down and placed a soft kiss on her forehead before brushing off strands of her blonde golden hair. No one can replace my love for you, he said softly, leaning in for a passionate kiss. No one. He walked into a crowded room. Another day feeling empty and alone, he drove down the street looking for his destination. He was invited to a party, yet again by the infamous party host, Kiba. He couldn't turn it down with such an offer as his. Naruto, you have to come, he said with an arm wrapped around him. His blue eyes locked with brown ones and a grin spread across the brown head's face. Lots of hot chicks are gonna be there, he finished with a wink at his friend before walking away to invite others. He didn't know why he would just go along with everything his buddy says. He felt lost every time he is around others. Was it because he felt like he didn't belong? Was it because there was something wrong with him? He didn't know, and he heaved off a deep sigh before noticing the house with cars parked everywhere. He turned the corner looking for any other parking place, and after 15 minutes of searching, he succeeded. He put his car on park and turned off the engine. He unbuckled his seat belt and looked into the rearview mirror. Blue eyes that held the ocean, spiky dirty blonde hair, and a Titan-colored skin. He ran his fingers through his hair softly before leaning back into his driver's seat. He closed his eyes for a few minutes, knowing what was to be expected. Every night, Kiba would throw a party and everyone shows up. He, of all the others, must be there since he was supposedly the wingman. He took a deep breath and letting it go as he opened the car door. He stepped out and locked it before facing away from it. His blue eyes looked up to see dark skies contrasting sparkly bright dots. It looked truly magnificent and a small smile formed across his face. He then looked forward and started to walk off in the direction to the large party house. He was wearing a black t-shirt with dark blue jeans, as well as a chain with the leaf symbol and a couple of rings on his fingers. It was a casual look for him that he picked up after junior high. His usual orange jumpsuit wasn't all too attractive when around the opposite gender after all. He smirked to himself, recalling why the need to change so badly once high school started. Past. Hey Sakura, Naruto called out, running over to his good friend. She turned around and gave him a small smile. What are you doing? He asked, sitting beside her on a bench. She looked at him as if he was crazy enough to ask. Stews, she stated, "'bout you." Naruto just shrugged as he continued to watch his friend read the large book. He heard laughter off to the side and turned to see who it was. A girl with dark midnight blue hair that was kept long was walking alongside another girl with brown waving hair. Hey Hinata, he called out, waving at the dark-haired girl. The two girls stopped and a faint blush appeared on said girl. Hi Naruto, she managed to say as Sakura faced the two as well. You know him? The brown-haired girl asked, looking at her as if she was crazy. Hi, I've known him since the 4th grade, Hinata confessed as she looked at her friend who had a weird look on her face. But Hinata, her friend said, pointing at the orange-clad boy, he's not in the same social ladder as us, she pointed out, so you shouldn't talk to him. Hinata looked at Naruto for a few minutes, noticing the confused and angry emotions building up in him. She then turned to her friend and nodded before they walked off without any goodbyes. Naruto clenched his fist tight and felt a soft hand touch his. He turned to see green eyes staring at his. Naruto, you okay? She asked, a bit concerned yet knew this would happen. The blonde nodded, but the anger still surrounded in his heart. End passed. He gave off an aggravated sigh as he stopped a few moments in the middle of the street. He saw her, Hinata, walking to the door hand in hand with a man. They looked happy as they smiled at one another before walking through the door. He couldn't help but feel a sting ran across his heart. He liked her and thought they were friends, but how could she just push their friendship away to be with, as they say, cool kids? He shook his head once more before looking up into the sky. This sucks so bad, he thought to himself as he forced himself to finish across the street. He looked around to see many cars he recognized, Shikamaru's, Shino's, Neji's, Lee's, Gaara's, and everyone else's. He knew this was going to be one long night as he took a couple of steps closer. He could hear the blasting of the music and people screaming and laughing. He felt a bit queasy at the moment when memories wheeled into his mind. He pushed them back as he stood in front of the door. He felt like he wasn't living and everything was just a lie. How he wished he could just wake up and everything would just disappear. He knew it won't. So, as he reached for the door, he couldn't help but think he wants a change in his life, to find something different, yet his wishes never came true before. He turned the knob softly and pushed gently against the door to see people laughing, smiling, drinking, and yelling. The loud burst of sensation swept through him. So many people so happy, why wasn't he one of them? Smiles at everyone he sees. So many people so happy, why wasn't he one of them? He looked around to see if he could find his friends. He walked into the crowd deeper to see people he recognized. Naruto, his pink-haired friend, had called out. Even though she had gone up into the social ladder, she doesn't ignore him like the rest of them. Sakura, he said as they embraced into a hug. They pulled apart as her green eyes looked into his dull blue ones. So how are you doing these couple of days? She asked, interested. They hadn't been hanging out for a while. Good, he lied with a forced smile that was all too easy for him to do now. His friend, once so close, is now just another person he'd lie to. That's good to hear, she said, laughing a little before turning around to see his friend approaching. I'll see you around, okay? She said as she turned to walk away before his friends caught up to him. Naruto, Kiba called out, holding a bottle of beer as one arm hung around Lee's shoulder. Naruto just stared at them for a moment before a confused, shocked, and scared face appeared on his features. Calm down, Naruto, Neji said coolly as a smirk appeared across his face. Naruto eased up a bit before his arm reached behind his head. You sure? He asked, still unsure. He's the designated driver today, Gaara pointed out as his arm crossed over his chest, something of habit. He just nodded before a smile ran across his face. So Kiba, how's the party holding up? He asked his friend who just gave him a sloppy smile. Oh, it's going good, he said as he pushed himself off of Lee to stumble over to Naruto. You know, Naruto, he said with the smell of alcohol in his breath, I love you, like a brother, you know that. He said before his eyes became droopy and tired. Yeah, Naruto said with a soft chuckle. This always seemed to happen. Kiba would get drunk, then confess his, oh so love, for Naruto, though brotherly of course, and he'd end up in bed while the rest of them end the party when time comes. Come on buddy, he said as he took a hold of his good friend's arm around his shoulder, time for bed. Yes mother, he joked, laughing loudly as he walked, more like forced, alongside Naruto. Neji, Lee, and Gaara just laughed at the two. Naruto and Kiba really were like brothers, bickering insults at one another, but then have that good bond between one another. They watched as Naruto tried to force a stubborn Kiba to keep walking. Naruto, he said as he watched a girl with purple hair, that girl's cute, ne. Naruto turned to see her and examined her. She had long curly purple hair with a light brownish colored skin. Her eyes were dark brown with pink lips. She was wearing a miniskirt that looked like it would show everything if she just bent a little. Her shirt wasn't much to cover herself either. She was wearing a tight white shirt that exposed her belly and her creases were cut to expose way too little for the imagination. You talking about her? Naruto asked, a bit confused as he looked at his friend. Kiba stared at him with a sly smile before pushing Naruto off of him and walking off to the girl. Naruto just watched as his friend grabbed a nice squeeze of the girl's behind, but she didn't mind and simply wrapped her arms around him. Naruto turned away and couldn't look toward his friend. He was disgusted and felt like barfing, but then again, he'd probably just gag on nothing but air. Another night, pretending he's alright. You okay? He heard someone said to him as he turned to see Gaara walking up to him. He forced another smile and used his thumb to point behind him where Kiba was making out with the girl. Oh, was all the redhead said before both of them walked away toward the dance floor. His blue eyes looked around to see if he could spot anyone else, but before he had his time in doing so. Yo! A raven-haired male called out as he pushed the blonde softly. Naruto turned around and narrowed his eyes into a glare. Hey, was all he mustered up to say as Gaara stood watching the two. He knew they had history, but then again this was the usual way of greeting, strangely. So you want to get a drink? Sasuke offered, not really questioning but stating. Naruto just turned to look at Gaara, who just nodded. Yeah, I guess, the blonde said with a shrug before he, Gaara, and Sasuke walked off to the counter. Yes, Kiba got lots of things, doesn't he? Lol. So how you been, Dobe? He said as he took a sip of his glass. Pretty good actually, he lied with a smile before he turned to Gaara. You okay there, Gaara? His redhead friend just looked at him and places a small smile on as he took his third cup. Naruto could tell something was wrong and didn't want to push it, but then again this was Naruto. What's wrong? The blue-eyed boy asked, leaning his head a bit closer to hear since the booming music echoed throughout the house. It's nothing, Gaara finally said, knowing that his blonde-haired friend wouldn't let it go, but he wouldn't push it at the moment at least. K, was all that Naruto said before he turned to see Sakura walking over to them. A smile ran across his face, but quickly disappeared when he realized that she was walking toward Sasuke. Hi Sasuke, she said with a blush as he smirked at her. He nodded and she looked like she was going to faint. Hey Sakura, where's your friends? Naruto asked as he looked behind her to see no one following. Sakura shook out of her daze and looked at Naruto with what seemed like embarrassment or anger. They left me, she finally said softly, causing all three men to look at her with pity. Naruto was about to say that he'd take her home but noticed the Uchiha's face tense a bit. How could they just leave you? He asked angrily, that made Sakura flinched a little. She was on the verge of tears but swallowed it down. I dunno, she softly said, looking down at the ground before turning to walk away until she felt an arm. I'll take you, the raven-haired male said as he pulled her hand through the crowd that made everyone look at her confused. She was blushing like a tomato at that moment as she kept her eyes glued at their hand. Naruto couldn't help but laugh a little at the sight. Here, his good friend always wanted the Uchiha, and now she has him, kind of. Weird girl, Gaara commented, looking at the scene that was played before him before it was all over. Naruto looked at him and a cheesy smile took the place on his lips before he nodded with agreement. As he sat at the bar looking at his glass, he wondered what exactly does he want in life. He remembered that he wanted to grow up happy, with a happy family that loves him no matter what he is. Old dreams are hard and wishes are always taken for granted, or was it the other way around? He couldn't think as he rubbed his temples gently. Gaara left a while ago as a woman with brown hair pulled him to dance with her. Her friend also tried to get himself, to dance as well, but he didn't. He wouldn't budge even after she tried to push her with her body. Fine. He recalled hearing her scream in his ears, be that way, I didn't even want to dance with someone like you. She screamed at him with an accusing finger. He heard her clearly and his heart almost fell deeper into the depths of his soul. Even though Gaara didn't notice, nor did anyone else, what she had said, but it upsets him to no ends. It's not like he was hideously ugly, or he was useless, but ever since a couple years ago, he felt like everyone just detests him to no end. First, Hinata threw away their friendship like it was trash and didn't even look at him ever the same. Then, Sakura, his once beloved best friend, left his side and took the side of those who despise him for reasons unknown. Now, here he is hearing everyone laugh and smile when he sulk in his despair. What was it that he is depressed about? He himself doesn't really know either. He wants to belong, possibly. Yes, He has friends who are somewhat similar to him like Kiba and Gaara, and of course he had dates. One date was extremely terrible to him as he recalled the past downing his fourth shot. Past. He was seated across from his date in the newly built restaurant. He looked at her and noticed a tint of pink on her cheeks that she tried to hide by turning to the side. Her blue eyes were sparkling with delight and excitement. Her short black hair was pinned up into a bun with butterfly clips to hold it in place. She finally turned to him and a smile never left her face as she stared deep into his eyes. The waiter came and took their order before he left. "Sakura," Naruto said a bit nervous under her stare, "how are you feeling today?" "I'm feeling great, Naruto-kun," she added with a brighter blush, "and you?" "I'm doing good," he decided to say as he gave her a smile before their food arrived. They ate in silence because all the girl kept doing was stare at the blonde boy who wasn't sure what she wanted. After almost finishing his meal, he looked up to see anger flicker upon her blue eyes. He began to say but she gave an annoyance look before huffing. "Naruto," she yelled, though softly to not catch anyone's attention, "aren't you forgetting something?" Naruto looked at her for a moment trying to decipher what exactly she was getting at, but found no clue as to it. Was all he said before she stormed out of the restaurant stomping as she went out. Naruto quickly placed some money before running after her. She stopped at the corner of the street knowing he'd run after her. "Kira, wait up, what's wrong?" he asked, no understanding why Shikamaru kept calling girls troublesome. They were a mess. Her blue eyes intensify with fire as she stared at him for a few minutes, seeing nothing but confusion in his eyes. "Kiss me," she ordered, but he didn't comply. He wasn't one to be told what to do, and sure as damn would he listen to a girl now. "I said kiss me," she yelled at him, and he just gave her an irritated look. "Why should I?" he asked, peeved at her. She just stared at him in a slight bit of shock before she slapped him and ran off crying. Naruto stood there unsure what to do and what in the world was going on. He watched her retreating back as he thought to himself if he should have ran after her. End past. "Damn it," he screamed with his teeth grinding together as his fist squeezed harder onto the glass. He should have run after her, but he didn't. The damn stupid day after was even more horrible. The damn girl told everyone that he denied her, which was kind of true, and did a whole lot more than hold her hand. He couldn't believe something like that would happen with someone who seemed innocent. He shook his head as his free hand ran through his head once more. Damn parties. He needs someone, he wants someone, yet he couldn't look up to search the crowd. His eyes were becoming tired as his lids drooped lower. He took another shot and slammed the glass down hard. The bartender stared at him for a moment before filling up his glass once more. Naruto swished the glass around slowly, watching the liquid splash small drops onto his hand. He gave off a deep sigh and closed his eyes, not realizing someone was watching him with a pair of sky blue eyes. She sees him there, tries not to stare. Yamanaka Ino, one of the most popular girls, the top of the social ladder, the one everyone envies, the one everyone wants. She was invited to a party by Kiba, who always threw a party no matter what day it was. Her brown-haired friend, Tenten, had told her about it. Past. "Ino," she screamed as she waved the invitation card above her head. Ino turned to see her friend smiling brightly toward her way, and all she could do was smile back. Her friend stopped in front of her and showed the card to her. "Kiba's throwing a party tonight," she said with a smile. "You're going, aren't you?" she asked, eyeing the blonde-haired, blue-eyed beauty. Ino nodded, causing her friend to smile even wider. "All right, I'll see you there, okay?" she said as she ran off past her to tell others about it. End past. What was she supposed to do? Say no when she is known to show up everywhere that parties were held? She sat on one of the couch taking in the scene in front of her. She didn't know how she could just sit there and not dance, even when asked. Yes, there are those who are attractive in there, but she never saw more than looks, just like no one saw more than her popularity. "Hey beautiful," a dark-haired male figure said as he sat beside her. Ino just gave him a small smile. "Hi Sai," she greeted him as she took another drink from her cup. Sai looked at her for a moment and decided to ask a question. "Why are you not dancing?" he asked, startling her a bit before she just shook her head softly, leaving her blonde hair to sway with the movement. "I'm actually not feeling too well," she admitted, placing another smile on her pretty face. Sai just nodded before someone called out to him. Sorry beautiful, I must go, he said as he stood up offering another smile before he left. Ino watched him go and felt lonelier than she was to begin with. She took another glance around and noticed something, or someone. Blonde hair, she thought to herself before something caught her attention. He was slouching against the bar table and for a moment, she thought he was going to hit it with his face first. Deciding to see who the man was, she got up slowly as she sat her drink down. She inched closer and closer as she sat beside the man. He felt someone beside him and for some reason it felt familiar. He wasn't sure if he was just hallucinating on who it was because of the amount of alcohol he consumes or was it real. He turned with his head still down to see long legs with flawless skin. His eyes looked up her legs to rest on the half-exposed thighs. His face was reddening and getting hotter every second. He knew it was his damn hormones but decided it would be better to blame the alcohol. His eyes moved up slowly to see something round. For a split second he thought it was, for some strange reason, round balls and was about to reach for it slowly, but reality hit him. OS. He screamed at himself as he mentally slapped himself, or was it physically? Naruto, her soft voice sounded like a tune out of place. Her slender fingers touched his hand to stop him from beating the crap out of himself. He looked at the fingers, now hand, to see creamy skin. His eyes moved from her hand and finally reached her face. But something stirs her deep inside. Blue meets blue. For a small second, everything stopped and all they saw was each other. Naruto, are you okay? She asked as she held onto his hand, which was against his cheeks still. Ino, he asked still not being able to understand what was happening. Ino pulled his hand away from his face and held onto it. Those who saw the two sitting there together would have laughed so hard they'd pee in their pants, but they were all too busy dancing and drinking. Ino, the popular girl, hanging with the Naruto, the not so popular guy was almost a taboo. She knew the boy and knew what was going on inside him, possibly. When their eyes met, she could see it, loneliness. She may be the most popular girl in all of Konoha, but it doesn't mean that she was never lonely. Past. Dad, Ino called out as she entered the house after school. Her father was drunk on the couch once again and she felt like yelling at him, but she couldn't find the strength to. Her father, after her mother left, was in one huge state of depression that not even she herself could help him. She grabbed the bottle out of his clutch and placed it on the table. She went to the closet to grab a small blanket to put over her father. She loves her father and he was the only family she has, but he hasn't really been there for her. He, of course, lives in the house and sleep there, but it felt like just a lifeless zombie that doesn't talk. Maybe he was emotionally and mentally gone. She didn't know. Of course she was terribly sad that her mother had left the world and left the two of them alone, but she knew her mother was in a better place now, but her father never stopped blaming her. Ino walked up into her bedroom and cried until her heart couldn't take any more. Life at school, you can say, was one huge and fat lie. Pretending to be in a happy relationship with her father, pretending to be perfectly fine, and pretending to enjoy everyone's company when in fact, she felt like no one knows her well enough, she assumes. End past. Naruto took another drink and felt hazy and buzzing. He looked toward the blonde once again before a sly smile ran across his face. Hey Ino, he said with droopy eyes. Ino looked at him and knew that he was only getting himself drunk in order to stop the pain. She stared with concern at him as he grabbed onto her arm. Ino, he started to laugh like a child with a plan. Why don't you and me go somewhere? He finished as he leaned in closer to her still with a large grin across his face. She just stared at him and knew she should slap him or maybe punch him in the face, but she felt like it'd hurt him more. Okay, she said, causing a larger grin, if possible, on the male's face. She got up slowly as he tried but fell forward onto her. He knew he was blushing but couldn't stop himself and felt so weak at the moment. His legs felt frozen in place as his head stayed in the awkward place in between her BS. He thought that he'd get yelled at, or punched so hard that he'd be in a coma for years, but nothing came. He felt her hand on his head as she ran her fingers through his hair almost in a caring manner. His eyes went wide and it slowly closed as he inhaled her scent. Flowers, lots of flowers, he told himself, not being able to decipher what kind. He heard her whisper something, but he didn't know what it was. He felt like just falling asleep right then and there in her arms because he felt so safe. That will be all for this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below for more videos. Goodbye.